So a good research question typically would have three areas that you would focus on. One is the context. So Shahnaz, you might be looking at early years development in oracy skills. Richard, you might just be looking at, say, social skills and social skill development in boys in year 5, perhaps. The second area we look at is what intervention will you put into place to make this happen? And in our case, you've all mentioned voice feedback. And then finally, the outcome. So what are we measuring and how would we go about measuring that? Because we can have a question, but the difficult part is it a measurable question that we can actually have end results for?
I think the most important part of that conversation is the effect. It's that last part, what is the outcome that you can measure. So quite often when people say they want to do some research, they might say, I want to judge the effect of using, say, Shelby, or I want to see what impact using an iPad has with children. We know what they mean by that, but it's not precise enough to measure. So for outcome, you need to be thinking more carefully about what is it that would actually result, if things go well, in an ideal situation, that would be an improvement. It might be things like confidence is improved, engagement is improved. We might be able to measure whether they are more fluent in speaking. Those are the kind of things that we call outcomes. So do you have a feel for what your research question would be? What did you think was?
How could I improve attainment levels in reading through oral feedback in class 5? My intervention would be through the use of voice feedback in reading.
Yeah.
And the outcome would be hopefully the reading fluency, comprehension and decoding skills would improve.
Okay, so your question might get turned on its head a bit. It's almost like, can the use of oral feedback, i.e. brackets, Shelby, help to improve oral comprehension, decoding and fluency in year 2 students or whatever it might be?
So Richard, did you kind of think about refining your question? What did you come down to?
Yeah, in the end I kind of whittled it down to how does the use of regular voice feedback improve the learning engagement of the year 5 boys? Because we've got quite a few boys that will do the work, but will do the bare minimum. It's not what they're capable of, and then they go home and won't do any homework.
So have you thought about, in going back to your context, well, you've said year 5 boys, I guess back to the question, is there a specific subject you'd run that through, or is it in all areas?
Probably maths and English, but probably more specific with their English, because they do a lot of maths work, they kind of quickly their answer with their multiplication, whereas in English they do need to work on a bit more of their language skills, so probably focus towards English.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's got most of the elements, if not all of them, that you need. The one I'd tease out, which is what you're teasing out, Zainab, there, is this issue of engagement, because it's about learning engagement. You said, what I'm hoping is they'll be more engaged. So we need to kind of break that down, and you mentioned that at the end. What are going to be the measures of engagement in this case? So engagement's a word we use a lot. So what do we mean by it? When we think, what is engagement? Now you mentioned things like the amount of time they're on task, do they do their homework or not? So you could probably break down that word engagement into a series of measures that you'd use in your study. You'd have to be consistent. If you use them, you've got to use them right through. So if you say, for me, engagement is about how long they're on task, off task. We can count that, it's almost measurable in numbers. It might be saying, I'm really interested, do they do their homework regularly? That's a sign of engagement. It doesn't matter what it is, provided you're consistent. So you say it at the start, and you're still using the same measures at the end. In other words, it's a fair test. You're doing a judgment that keeps the same right through. One of the reasons I think it's a really good research question is because you've used the phrase, how does, rather than does or is. Some phrases are closed questions. So if you say, does Shelby help students understand better? That's a very close question. It could be a yes, it could be a no. But when you say, how does, it implies that you're going to explore the process as well. So this is really important because often we can say this has led to an improvement in learning. So we might say they are now getting higher test scores or whatever, but we still don't know why. So actually we've only got half the solution. We know it improves it, but why? We really need to know the why in order for other people to benefit from our research. So when you say how does, I would be expecting you to explore things like in what contexts, where are they doing it, what's the process, and it implies as well something about how you'll collect data, because it implies really that you're going to get very close to watching students doing it. You might interview them, you might observe them, or you might look at the records that they make if they're using a computer, because that's how you're going to find the how-does, the process. Whereas if you were just looking for, does it make a difference, you could just do a pre-test and a post-test, and you never need to be there really,
Yeah.
you just look at the start and the end.